We're going to get a little more complex now with this idea of chords and scales by looking at some variations and some substitutions. Again, as we've talked about in the Advanced Guitar Toolbox discussion, we're starting to see more layers kind of reveal themselves. And at first it may feel very conscious, and you may think, oh, that's just a whole lot to think about. I don't know that I can ever get to a point where I can just play. And when we're engaged in the work of making ourselves better, making ourselves deeper, again, as rhythm players, when we are more reactive and supportive, ultimately, it does feel a little conscious at first, but I can promise you through more song experience, more work, and we will do that around here, this will start to become more automatic to you, just as we work to learn more about the fretboard and increase fluency on the fretboard. We're also increasing kind of fluency in these tools and that more automatic kind of noticing and more of that improvisational reactivity. But just to keep this conversation going here, so we discussed the starting point: 1, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, and then the 5 over the 7 back to the 1. A first level sort of variation of that starts with the 1 to the 2 minor 7. Again, one of the reasons these chords all work is because every note in that is in the scale. I like thinking of how every note in a melody, when we are in a key, and every note in every chord of that melody kind of reaffirms we're in that key. And this is a way to see that in action, where the A minor sounds like a nice chord, but the reason it really works, the reason it agrees with the G, the natural A minor and the A minor 7 both work because all those notes are in the key of G. And again, we make our minor 7th chord by looking at the chord structure itself. There's the 1, there's the 7, and we flat that to get the A minor 7 sound. Same thing with the B7, where we can play a minor 7 version of that, and to play it like this is a little more challenging, but that works. Sometimes I play it like that, where the middle finger's on the B, the ring finger's down here on the A, and the pinky's on the D. That also, and the D string can be open. In this case, the 4 and the 5 are going to stay the same. Right? The 6 minor also can be a minor 7, because as we add the D here in the key of G, the D makes the E minor 7 happen. And then I hinted at this before, but that 5 can also be a 5-7 chord. Or as a variation, we don't have to use the 7 in the bass. It can sound something like this. Again, that 7th degree of the scale is really, again, as the last degree to lead us officially back to the 1. The 5 chord does that job in the sort of the musical realm, and we think about musical structure, and especially in bluegrass, when we always sort of come back to the 1 chord. You can notice this in songs you play. You're more than likely playing a 5 chord before you go back to the 1. And so again, as a choice from rhythm guitar, that 7 can work, but again, it's operating like a 5 chord. In the key of D, again, 2 minor 7, maybe an F sharp minor 7 to the 4 chord, 5 major chord, 6 minor 7 again, that B minor 7, and maybe an A7 back to 1. So again, these are just some variations of these chords that still work because they're very much what we call in consonance with the key of G, not dissonance. They're not disagreeing with the key of G. Everything is still harmonically in line. So it's important to recognize that. A couple other things we want to get into as far as the idea of more variations, some substitutions. Again, to try to find, also or keep us working more towards some musical value as we use this idea of chords and scales to help us travel from one chord to the next. If I'm back in the key of G and going from G to C, right, I can look at some options and say, okay, that it's 2 minor, 3 minor, 4, that's an option. The 1, 2 minor, 7, 3 minor, 7, 4, that sounds nice. Because bluegrass music tends to remain a little more simplistic harmonically all the way through most of the songs. The 3 minor chord, the 3 minor 7, a lot of times can sound a little too progressive or modern in some situations. So a more what we might call bluegrass appropriate variation of that 3 minor could be the 1 chord over the 3. Again, the 3 note is what's important to keep that scale walking and keep us moving from the 1 to the 4. All right, so that sounds a little more, again, it's still in consonants, but maybe a little more traditional, if you will. Right, but it's still achieving the job of a walking bass. And if we move to the key of D, still looking at a 1 to a 4, in this case it would be potentially the 1 major, maybe an E minor 7, or just an E minor, and then this is a really beautiful chord here. There's our 3 in the bass, over basically what is a D chord, middle finger on the low F sharp, ring finger on the A, pinky on the D, and that leads me to the G chord, the 4 chord in the key of D. Back down to D. One of the things we notice about going back down, just as the 7 going up leads us to D, we can also get into this idea of substitutions where instead of playing an E minor before we go to D, we can insert a 5 chord here because that's, again, kind of the function of a chord before the 1 chord, leading us back home to the D chord. Right? You can sort of you can hear how that leads naturally. So to start thinking about substitutions where we can use different chords in this sort of scalar move up and down for different effects. A 2 can be replaced with a 5. Okay, and again, we're going to explore some of these a little more deeply in songs in the site here as examples, and certainly as you're submitting videos and trying these out on your own. Because again, to say this happens all the time is sort of impossible, but we would just want to get this out there that you may see this, and this is probably something that we can experiment with. So again, a 2 can be a 5. When you're playing songs and say you're going to a 4 chord, sometimes a 2 minor can be a good substitution for a 4. And we'll get into this concept a little more deeply in our improvisational chat. But a 6 minor, like in the key of D, the B minor, or the key of G, the E minor, can replace that 1 on occasions. And again, we'll see that in action a little more as we get into the song demonstrations, but I just want to get these concepts out there. Again, these are concepts to be applied in various situations, and as a result, the context of those songs are going to be a major part of that actual discussion. So again, we define success with these kind of tools as building experience, trial and error, exploring, experiencing. That's the way to get through this. So we'll add some more tools next.